All right, here we are.
There we are. Welcome back to another week of the Ron and John Show. And I'm Ron.
And I am John, the Ron and John Show. We're known coast to coast like butter and toast. We can make ISIS surrender or die, or meet the nerdiest guy look kind of fly. We can sing like we've been drinking all night long, and we can drink like we've been singing all night long. So if you're looking for a good time, don't you delay. Tune into the Ron and John Show. Because this Ranger and me, we lead the way.
Boom!
Hey, brother, I had to pull out the E-tool and the Indonesian battle axe, man. I'm so fired up today because of the show we got, but what we've been doing recently, man, I'm ready to get out and just take it to our nation's enemies, man. How about you?
I am in the same spot. That's why I, had to bring out the old double whammy. It's all engraved in here, ready for whatever, along with the old school hatchet here. But, it's just coming off of an amazing, motivating week. Right. I mean, we had a great weekend, I'm sure. But, man, what kicked off on Monday was something that definitely set the tone, set the pace, and right on the heels of coming back from Goodfellow and crushing it over there. Just phenomenal. You want to share with everybody what we did on Monday?
Yeah. So, we stayed local, the Ron and John Show, and Ron and I went to the 2nd Stryker Brigade 2ID, the Lancer Brigade, at the behest of Colonel Chung and Sergeant Major Szymanski, to come and participate in the recognition of their top squad competition. So the top physical, technical, and tactical squad within the brigade, 162 squads started, and at the end we recognized the top 3. And it was awesome that through our organization, Veterans Lending Group, that the top squad, every one of them got a Veterans Lending Group Ron and John Show entrenching tool, adding 6 more members to the E-Tool Nation, brother. And then afterwards, that dialogue we had with all of the first sergeants talking about transition and preparing yourself for what's next. Powerful, man. And you hit a home run, brother, as you always do.
Oh, thanks, brother. That moment, and you called it. What I love about us working together is, we stay in our lanes. We know where they're at. We address we talk about the audience, about the objective, as we go in and how we're going to nail it. And with that group, it was just very direct. It was like, here's what it is. Here's the stuff, no fluff. And, we're talking about, you talked about your experiences, talked about, focusing back on you and the family. We talked about transition, their VA benefits and for their pre-discharge so they could get benefits at discharge. We talked about the VA home loan. And the thing is what we created there are force multipliers. There's a lot of north and south in that audience. There's a lot of notes that were being taken, and it was just phenomenal. Just walking away from there, just felt great. Felt good about everything that we've done, and look forward to more.
And this is all to our ultimate goal, which is to educate, inform, and inspire. But more importantly, it's to get after this veteran suicide epidemic that we have on. And you and I both know that the more that transitioning service members and veterans retain purpose in their life, much like they had on active duty, the more productive they'll be out there, and the more they will have opportunities to continue to excel, and the more that take care of their families out there and everything. Which is why last week it was so awesome to have Lieutenant Commander 𝘕𝘕𝘕𝘕 on the show, man. You talk about one of our nation's treasures, man. That guy, when you talk about, dreaming big, setting lofty, attainable goals, visualizing and then actualizing those goals and getting after it by any means necessary, and on the end coming out and fulfilling your goals. It was just phenomenal. I could have listened to that guy all night long.
All night long, absolutely. And then we wrapped it up with Master Sergeant, retired now, right?
Yeah.
From Rob Wilkins, from the the member council for the president for sports and fitness, phenomenal. Also, and the thing is that we'll keep getting after, right? I mean, it's a constant theme with PME. We at Goodfellow we laid the scunion down on over there. You're consistently doing the carry heavy shit on Fridays. What we're able to see and acknowledge on Monday with those warriors that are out there getting after it, keeping physical, and with that transition talk that we talked about is maintain your physical fitness, because those are things that are connected, which rolls right into our guest today. I mean, I don't know if it can get any more physical and just that dripping with type A, get after it attitude. Then who do we got? Who do we got today, brother?
So today, we have a special guest. His name is Iron Mike Steadman, and he is the founder and president of Ironbound Boxing. And Ironbound Boxing, their motto is "We are boxing." We utilize boxing to transform communities, individuals, and corporate teams, helping them thrive and realize their fullest potential. So as we talk about all of the time with PME hard, physical, mental, and emotional hard, it starts with this physical foundation where you have an activity that is assisting you. And when you talk about an activity like boxing that has so much adversity in it, we got Iron Mike Steadman tonight, but it was Iron Mike Tyson that said everybody has a plan until they get punched in the
mouth.
Yeah. And so the reason it is so awesome to have Mike here, much like Jesse, he was a classmate of Jesse's. So I'd love to hear what he has to say about that relationship, being at the Naval Academy together. But here's a quote from him. If you want to understand who Iron Mike Steadman is, there's no better way to unleash your inner badass than training like a boxer. You'll build the grit, confidence, and discipline that will enhance and improve every aspect of your well-being, personal development, and job performance. Just phenomenal. And, just a little bit about his bio before we bring him out. Like I said, he's the founder and he oversees Ironbound Boxings and all aspects of that brand. He's also a 3-time national collegiate boxing champion from the United States Naval Academy. Man, we have these Navy guys on all the time, man. A couple of Army guys having all these Navy guys on, but he's a graduate of the Naval Academy, but he's a Marine Corps infantry officer. So that tells me he was in the dirt with the troops. Yeah. And he's deployed to combat to Afghanistan as well as part of 𝘲𝑚use in Japan and the Philippines. And he is just somebody that is truly giving back. It's a hybrid kind of organization. It's got a for-profit and a non-profit arm, the Ironbound, but they really focused on inner cities by providing that purpose as people come up, and especially to troubled youth as they come up. So to the audience out there, the Ron and John Show, let's give it up to our special guest, and let's bring him out, Iron Mike Steadman.
Yeah.
Mike, how are you, sir? There we go.
He is. What's going on, gentlemen? I feel like we're going to have some fun. This is a fun podcast. I'm excited.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, we're excited to have you.
So how you doing, Mike?
I'm doing good, man. Had a great day, taught some boxing, raised some support for our nonprofit arm, and have an opportunity to work every day on a something I'm very passionate about and purposeful. So, I have no complaints.
Yeah. Hey, so let's start a few years ago, but kind of tell the audience where you grew up at, and kind of what your athletic activity was in school and everything, and then how you made the decision to attend the Naval Academy, and then you had to do well at the Naval Academy to become a Marine infantry officer. Not everybody gets to do that and everything. And then kind of your military service, and then your vision with Ironbound, and now where you've taken it now that it's a pretty recognized brand across the country there.
Yes, sir. I hope so. I'm at Ironbound HQ right now, and it looks like a 1-bedroom to me. You're telling me it's all across the country. That's great. But no, in all serious, hello, everyone. My name is Iron Mike Steadman. I'm originally from East Texas, so Tyler, Texas area. But I also grew up in Bryan College Station, which is home of Texas A&M University.
Yeah.
Shout out to all the Aggies out there. But no, man, I was raised in a single parent home. My mom, 𝘬𝘬𝘬𝘬𝘬𝘬𝘬𝘬𝘬𝘬𝑬𝑬𝑬𝑬𝑬𝑬𝑬𝑬𝑬𝑬𝑬𝑬𝑬𝑬𝑬𝑬𝑬𝑬𝑀 and just grew up in an environment, to be quite frank, with weren't a lot of male figures around. 33-year-old black man. I'll tell you, I'll be transparent. I haven't met my father till this day. So, I know that situation, and an environment I grew up in, a lot of people were raised by their grandmas, their aunties, and, all this kind of stuff. And so, I always just kind of wanted more out of life, and, my mom was an educator. She worked in special education, and she was an administrator at my high school. So, I grew up in an environment, and you kind of look up to peers older than you. So
Yeah.
one of my mom's coworkers, she had a son, and he was 3 years older than me. So when I was a freshman, he was a senior, but we had grew up together, you know, from like middle school, from like elementary days. And when he was getting ready to graduate high school, he was going to the military. So naturally, what do I want to do? Well, I want to go to the military, right? 3 years older than me. It's just like what he's going to do. And but my mom, she really wanted me to go to college. That was a big thing. It was very important for her. And we found out that you could go to you go to school and go to college at the same time. So we started looking at ROTC programs. You know, you got the Corps Cadets there, and, in Texas, in College Station. And I looked at the National Guard, all that kind of stuff. And they used to lie to you too, like, "Oh yeah, you could join National Guard. You don't got to worry about going to war or nothing." You know,
1 week in the month. That's it.
This don't sound right to me. I'm pretty sure I just saw some National Guardsmen in Iraq. So we avoided that. And, you know, at first I wanted to go to A&M, Texas A&M. It just made sense. It was right there. But then I found out about this thing called the United States Naval Academy. And the first time I came across it, I was like, that's for me. And my mom, being very passionate and driven like she was, she took an opportunity to put me in situations where I would learn about the Naval Academy, getting a blue and gold officer, going to the little networking events and all this kind of stuff. And I'll tell you, just be quite frank, when I was doing this stuff, there weren't a lot of people that looked like me. You know, I take it for granted now that I have a network of like black midshipmen, but at the time that was so far, you know, it was foreign.
Yeah.
You know, this idea of like a black midshipman actually seeing one and being around one. But it was a vision of mine, and I had an opportunity to go to the academy.
Awesome.
Wow. So, and then from the academy, how long were you in the Marine Corps for from there?
So I was in the Marines for 5 years.
Okay.
So I did probably, I don't like to say, you know, people ask you how long did you do in the military? I was like, I was in the Marines 5 years, and I did a 5-year program at Navy because they sent me to a prep school for a year.
Yeah.
But it was great. That's where I met Jesse. You know, he was a football player there. And I did probably 10 years in military total. But I got exposed to boxing at Navy. A lot of people think I boxed before college, and I never stepped foot in a boxing ring until the Naval Academy.
Wow. So was that kind of like an intramural thing to start off with? I know you 3-time collegiate champion. How explain that to the audience? How did that all come about?
Yeah. So boxing is a club sport, right? At the Navy. But it holds a lot of prestige, right? Because for those that don't know boxing history, the NCAA got rid of boxing in like 1960 because it doesn't work like other sports, right? You can't be Ohio State and recruit the best boxer in the country that's got like 70 fights, and then you're fighting, I don't know, Shippensburg or something.
Yeah.
Right. And they're just teaching the backwood boys how to box. You know, you can die in the ring, and unfortunately, that's what would happen. And so the NCAA got rid of boxing, and then in 1972, I think the NCBA, National Collegiate Boxing Association, stepped up to fill that role through club sports. So at the Naval Academy, it wasn't necessarily intramurals that got me exposed. It was just, you know, everybody has to do a sport at Navy. It's just a requirement for all the plebes coming through. And at first, I thought I wanted to do crew, right? So going through our plebe summer, which is like our boot camp, you know, I was like, oh, I'll just row crew, you know, but the crew house was like 3 miles away. And this was before CrossFit really blew up. So 𝘬𝘕 was like the most foreign thing in the world. But I'm thinking, like, I like the team atmosphere. You know, I played basketball in high school. I was not a star athlete by any means. Like, if we weren't up by like 60 points and there was less than 2 minutes in the game, like, I wasn't getting in. You know, when it was like the 60-second mark, the coach looks at the bench. You know, it's like that was me. But I did enjoy that team atmosphere. I did enjoy being around it, and I thought crew would be a great way, you know, to do that. But then, you know, I run 3 miles to the crew house, and we're not getting on boats, man. We're just pulling on those 𝘬𝘕 so you throw up. And I was like, this is not for me. But I had a friend who I went to naps with, and he was telling me, man, you should come out for boxing. Honor, courage, commitment, blood, sweat, and tears, blah, blah, blah. Even though he'd only been doing it for like 2 days. He's like, so I walk in the gym, and the first day the coach there, he taught us, like, you know, a couple punches, shows how to defend ourselves, and made us spar that very first day. And it just was like, are you serious? Like, we don't even know how to protect ourselves. But it was just the adrenaline rush of that moment. And for me, it was like, I realized, like, people own this.
Yeah.
You know, like, they step in a ring and it's like playing pickup basketball to them. I was like, I wanted to have what they have. Very similar to how we joined the military. You know, you see that poster of the Marine, not you guys, but you know, the Marine, he's got the camo on and he's got and he's holding the rifle, and you're like, I want what he has. You know,
right.
And you think you join the Marine, you go infantry because that's what you want. Same thing with boxing. I was like, man, people live and breathe this. I want that. And so that's why I stuck with boxing.
Yeah.
So when you
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, Ron.
So when that, how did that continue to obviously roll over into your military career, right? I mean, it wasn't just in college, rolled into your active duty life as well. And how did that roll?
I'll tell you, man, when I first entered the Marine Corps, even when I was at the basic school, which is our like officer finishing school for Marines, you know, me and a boxer would be back there sparring behind the house, you know, the field house or whatever. Not supposed to, you know, but it's just that thing where it was just like, it becomes a part of you. Right. I view boxing almost like an anchor. It almost becomes like a religion, this thing that just constantly sticks with you. And I've found out in my life when I get away from boxing, my life, I don't accelerate like I can. You know, if I'm moving and stuff is clicking, you better believe I'm around boxing. I'm either training, I'm working with someone, I'm coaching someone. It's just a very important aspect of it. So even when I entered the Marine Corps, you know, they were like, oh, you should join the Marine Corps boxing team. But I was like, no, I want to be an infantry officer and I want to go to Afghanistan. Then I got to Afghanistan. I was like, all right, I want to box. And I took gloves. I took gloves with me. I took mitts with me. And so I'd always been there hitting the pass with Marines, training with Marines. So it's always been a part of my life since the first time I was exposed to the sport.
Hey, we got a question from the audience. All right. And it's from our good friend, Candace Day here. She says, hell yeah, I agree. Former boxer myself. So Mike, what's your favorite combo or punch? She says she loves the right cross. So
my go-to combo is right uppercut to the body, left uppercut to the body, left hook to the head. You know, chop the tree down. You know, I'm a fan of low, high, high, low.
Awesome. That's great. So let's talk about your Marine career a little bit. So were you a Pendleton guy or a Lejeune guy?
I was a Lejeune guy.
Oh, okay. So 2nd Marine Division, 2nd 2 MEF, right?
That's right. I was attached to 1st Battalion, 8th Marines.
Oh, wow.
6.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then you do a tour in Afghanistan. So coming from the Naval Academy, where, you know, I think out of about half of the athletes that are in the Naval Academy get to become Marines. How, you know, at the TBS or whatever, how soon did you start taking on, obviously the Marine Corps is a branch of the Navy, but it was more about being that, you know, elite naval infantryman as opposed to, you know, being a great shipmate and everything. How hard, or was that even a difficult transition at all?
It was a really hard transition for me. It was really hard transition. I'll tell you, at the Naval Academy, right? Like being on the boxing team, there's certain sports that attract certain kind of personalities.
Yeah.
Boxers, they all end up going to become Navy SEALs. My co-captain was a Navy SEAL. We got a lot of Marine infantry officers, tons of pilots, right? There's just these certain type A personality types.
Yeah.
Right. The challenge for me, though, when I went infantry was I had the grit, the heart, determination. I didn't have the skill set in terms of like, I never really been camping like that. You know, being outdoors, sleeping in the woods. That was not my skill. But I was so determined to be an infantry officer because that just epitomized leadership to me. You know, I grew up in a team like, yo, I was watching, you know, Black Hawk Down, you know, all those movies.
Yeah.
And the leader, the up front, the infantryman. And so I was determined to do it. But I struggled really hard with the outdoor piece. And I went to the infantry officer school in the winter. Never stepped outside in my life, right? Because in Texas, you know, we rarely get snow. When you get snow, it's like a big deal. But this is nothing like, you know, we experienced out in Quantico. And I remember my first night sleeping in the tent at IOC, and they broke us down for the day and was like, get in your hooch. And I jumped in my hooch, and the fire watch kicked me in the middle of the night and was like, yo, man, get your stuff under the hooch, you know, because the snow would just fall on top of it. I didn't even have the common sense to like put it in, but I had to learn how to sleep outdoors and navigate the outdoor environment, be a Marine the hard way.
Awesome.
It's only one way to do it, right? That way. In the Marines, right? The hard way. So as far as, you know, your experience there, in the Marine Corps. What was your relationship with your NCOs and with the other enlisted Marines? What kind of officer were you, I guess?
I'm a team player. You know, I'm really good at putting teams together and, you know, I think inspiring, right? You like, as you grow and you become self-aware, you think of that kind of, what kind of leader you are. And I know for me, I'm always the one that just continues to push, you know what I mean? It just tries to inspire my guys. And, you know, I really enjoyed having squad leaders. Squad leaders was like an amazing, you know, for me, like, I'll be honest, gentlemen, like, I didn't really like shooting like that. Like I joined the Marine Corps. I never really gone and just like, oh, I'm gonna go to the range every other Saturday because that's my thing. Like I don't own any weapons except these two guns right here. But no, people are surprised by that. But I liked employing my squad leaders, you know, moving your squads around. You're kind of sitting back and stuff like that. But no, man, I was down in the trenches with my squad. Like my first workup, right? I never missed like a field op or anything. Like you would have to pull me from the field to miss it. Same thing with my second platoon. It's just this understand if my Marines are out there, like I'm going to go with them, you know, because it becomes almost like a team, like a family, you know? Right. I made some mistakes in Afghanistan because one of the hardest parts about being a leader is, you know, not even just delegating, but man, we would be in a situation where you're in like a firefight, you're exhausted and you're pushing on fumes. And guess what? These trucks still got to get refueled. All this kind of stuff gets refueled. And for me, it was just like, man, I'm a, you know, second lieutenant. I'm about to go sleep and send my, you know, corporal squad leader out to refill these trucks in the middle of the night at some random link up point, you know, and it's like, damn, if they get hit by IED or something, and you know, he was in the firefights and stuff with you, but it's just like that sense of the officer. Oh, we got to push. So I was that guy in a sense of like, I really care about my Marines, want to make sure that they were like taken care of stuff, but sometimes it would also be my default.
Awesome. So Mike, back to combat in Afghanistan, how important was building a physical foundation, not only for you, but for your Marines to assist in the mental and emotional kind of brutality of combat? How important is that physical foundation to get folks through?
It's critical. And I learned from like the thing that staying physically fit and strong, because it's mentally, physically, and spiritually strong, is you don't know what the day is going to bring, you know? And so this uncertainty that comes with being a leader, you know, would become, you know, even just being a civilian, it's like the world is hard. And so all you can do is put yourself in the best position to succeed. And so as an officer, like officers, especially Marine officers, physical fitness is a big deal. You know, they look you up and down as a Marine, right? Like straight off the bat, because it's a sense of like when it gets hard, are you going to be able to keep pushing? You know, and their physical piece is important to that, especially to the mental piece. You know?
Awesome.
So I use working out to stay on the offense. Working out, staying physically strong and all that. It's not a defense. It's going on the offense. Like at my very base, when I got back from Afghanistan, the first thing I was like, all right, no drinking, none of that. Let's get in shape. Let's get strong. Let's get ourselves back. And that's always the focus. That's always my default. When life gets hard, I always say, all right, let's go back to the basics. Taking care of your mind and your body and your spirit.
Hey, plagiarism's authorized, right? I'm stealing that one from you. Working out means going on the offensive. We're going to get offensive with carrying heavy shit. Ron O'Farrell.
I'm ready.
We're taking no prisoners here. So.
Zero. Friday morning or Sunday, either way. It's great. I'm glad to hear you say that. It also how much it affects that mental. We've had Scott Stalker on here, and he's talking about how he has to be physically strong because, you know, over cybersecurity, even he's got to be alert. What's going on over here, to be awake in front of those computers and systems and all the things that are going on, because as you know, that mental and emotional strain could be sometimes more than physical. And if we're not together physically, how are we going? You know, that's when things start to break down, right? We start getting sick. We start getting tired, catching that flu that we never catch, and it's because complacency, right? Because and we talked about that in the green room here. Was, you know, sometimes you don't want to get up, you know, or that's where it's motivation is secondary to that discipline, right? And maintaining that is what we always like to say, you know, so that it continues on, just like what you're doing with your gym and your daily life, really.
Yeah, you have.
So, yeah, go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say you have to, and I'll tell you, you know, as you get older, like we're all been there, right? The 2-hour play sessions, you know, but your body starts to break down, you know, as you're older and you get more responsibilities. And now it's like, to be honest, like, is the best use of my time to spend 2 hours in the gym? You know, the answer is no. But you make it up by being consistent. You know, transition away from all the, you know, when I first got out the military, I was like shaved head. You know, I was stronger people are harder to kill. You know, that was me. I live in Newark, and I was just like, yo, man, I'm about to be swole. But once I started doing stuff with Ironbound and other priorities, you know, still working out is important, but it's like that 45-minute, you know, that 1 hour, just kind of get it consistently instead of those 2, 3, 4 hour slay sessions. I just don't have the bandwidth for that, and it just doesn't work long term.
Yeah. So, Mike, you brought up your business. So, you made a decision after your commitment, you know, the 5-year commitment that officers have to get out, that you were going to get out. But when you were getting ready to transition, you know, as we say, what did you want to do when you grew up and your time in the military was done? And how did it come about that Ironbound boxing came about and grew?
Yeah, so I'll tell you, it went back to when I was at the Naval Academy. You know, I won 3 national championships, 2 most valuable boxers. I didn't get that sparring a bunch of midshipmen. You know, I spent time. My coach made us go spar in inner city gyms in Baltimore, DC, New York, the Bronx. And that's where I got my confidence to go in there. And we got beat up, bloody nose, but, you know, we're tough. We gave it out. But one of the things that always bothered me was a lot of the young men and women inside these gyms didn't have opportunities outside of the boxing ring. It was like we thought they could go pro or go back to the streets. And that always bothered me because we took pride as Naval Academy. I mean, Naval Academy, we're kind of looked at as nerdy, right? Let's just be honest. So when you're going into an inner city gym in DC, you know, in the hood, you know, we took pride in that because they're looking at us, they're like, look at these soft midshipmen looking, quirky looking, you know, and then you get up there and you start giving it, and then it's like all respect and all love. And I was like, man, boxing is a beautiful sport. I want these kids to have the same opportunities I have. And that always planted a seed in my head. And so when I was getting ready to transition out the military, I said this, look, I'd done everything I was supposed to do. You know, as a young Black man, I went to good college, right? Had an opportunity to become an officer in the Marine Corps, was transitioning out as a captain. And I just felt like it was time to do what I wanted to do. And I wanted to coach boxing. And I did have to have that decision. Like, you know, as an officer, a lot of peers are getting out. They're going to business school, grad school, and all this stuff. Like, yeah, I was kind of looking out that rate, looking out to do the same thing in terms of going to A&M, Texas A&M. But then I was like, man, I really want to kind of get this boxing going. You know, I'm in Newark. Newark is close to New York City. I could probably make a name for myself there, you know, because a lot of people aren't moving there. And so I was like, I had a buddy, another infantry officer. He's like, yo, you got to burn the ships, make a decision. And I burned the ships and I moved to Newark, you know, with the intent of starting a free boxing program, very similar to the Naval Academy. You know, I wanted my kids to have gear. You know what I mean? I want them to have swag. I want them to have a team atmosphere. And that was the goal. And so I got to the city of Newark. You know, I had to connect at a private school that I interned at called St. Benedict's Prep while I was at the Naval Academy over the summers. And they just came on a handshake, a phone call. It was like, hey, I want to come to Newark. Would love to work with you all at St. Benedict's. Didn't even know what we were going to do, right? Didn't know what the job description was or nothing. I just said, I want to coach boxing. That's all my only stipulation. And they put me in charge of the residence hall. So I lived in a giant teenage house with 70 teenage boys, young men of color, you know, in Newark while I coached boxing. Paid kids to train around different gyms in town. And I realized that's not a good business model, right? Because kids are fickly, you know, they come for a little bit, whatever. And so what ended up happening was I approached the city of Newark after about a year and said, hey, I would really love to build a free boxing gym in the community. All I ask is for a space. If you give me a space, you don't got to pay for anything. We'll take care of the rest. And veteran community stepped up, man. I had people donating. I had a cop from New York City, runs a program called Cops and Kids, gave us a $5K grant. Another veteran business gave us $2K grant. And we took that money and ran with it. And we launched the Ironbound Boxing Academy in February of 2017.
Wow. Incredible. So it's been going on since 2017. Talk about some of those struggles, because at that point you were just coming out of the Marine Corps, right? Yeah. Jumping, you know, both feet into this with this dream that you have. What was that like? That first, let's say 12 to 18 months. What was that like?
So for me, I did it right. And I'll tell y'all, like, I didn't really have an issue with transitioning. My hardest part of transitioning was still that Marine Corps mindset. You know,
Yeah.
like, just walking around looking scared. The kids swore I was on steroids, man. I was like 230. You know, I had the protein shaker. You know? That was me, man. I had the tight fitting shirts, you know. But I'll tell you, you know, as a civilian, you start to learn to be. That's a very stressful lifestyle too. You know, just that intensity all the time, and now I kind of like have fun with it. So once I was able to get over that, you know, I was having fun. You know, honestly, like I wasn't making a lot of money. You know, I was running a residence hall and I was coaching boxing, but I was living my dream and I was living my truth. So I had fun with it. And I know a lot of people were getting out transition. They were struggling, but I just kind of looked at it. I was like, man, you guys are going from like infantry, being a Navy SEAL, being a firing pilot to working, you know, as an accountant somewhere, whatever else. It's like, man, you put yourself in that situation, you know?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And, for me, I was just having fun, man. I was hanging out with the kids. I was like a big teenager because for us, when we get out the military, nobody talks about this, even for officers, you know, we get out the military, it's like we just graduated college. So, you know, we still don't really know what we want to do or where life's gonna, you know, push us. And so you really I tell people it takes like 3 years to really transition to kind of be like, man, I'm in my new personality, I'm in my new space. Because I knew for me, even when I was in Afghanistan, that I did not want the Marine Corps to be my identity, right? I wanted to be an aspect of who I am and what I do. But I knew for me, the Marine Corps was not going to be the highlight of my life. And I think a lot of veterans struggle with that because they're holding on to what they've done before. You know, they've ascended some rank, they've done all this kind of stuff. And all the branding out there, they tell you, you will never find meaning the same way you have when you're in the military. And it's just not true. Because I'll tell you, it's like a 7-year journey to the first time you get that salute. You know, the you know, high school, the congressional nominations, all that kind of stuff. People talking crazy. Then you go to prep school, then you go to Naval Academy, and then you earn the commission. Get that salute. And as amazing as a salute was, it doesn't compare to the first time somebody called me coach. Because I was like, who are you talking to? You know, I grew up in an environment where you had 2 coaches, right? I had my high school basketball coach, Coach Jones, right? And then my college boxing coach, McNally. So when you say the word coach to me, that is a really big, you know, and I'm still like young. I'm like, what, 27? And a kid had the audacity to call me coach. And that's when it hit me. It was just like, yo, this is crazy, you know, and that meant more to me. So, you know, to veterans that are listening out there, like you got to constantly make new highlights.
Boom.
Constant.
Yes.
You know, there's a phrase that I use all the time, Mike, and it's don't get lost in your own museum. Meaning what you've done in the past, you want to treasure that and honor that, but don't let that be what guides you in the future. Because if you're stuck in the past, you won't be doing anything in the future, and you won't be looking for that continued purpose as you move ahead. It's proud that, you know, all of us, Ron and I were soldiers. You were a Marine. You're a Naval Academy graduate. But we can't let that define us. We have to continue to go out and, as you described, make highlights in the future and make things, you know, more comfortable for our families and everything. And that is awesome. I just gave you a virtual hug, by the way, because I've been saying what you just said for 38 years in the military, and now for a year since I've been out, and you just kind of defined it for me right there. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
Let me tell you, it's a constant thing you have to do, right?
Yeah.
Like I'll tell you, I had the opportunity to go to my boxing academy, and we haven't trained in there since the pandemic hit. So you walk into a beautiful space, the bags are hanging and all that kind of stuff, and it can feel kind of eerie. You're like, damn, man, this is home. We have done so much stuff in these 5 months, and we are coming out of the pandemic better than we went in. And again, it's not like you forget the past, but you can't sit there and just reminisce on it. You know, you gotta build new opportunities. You know, you got to keep driving. And, you know, we are doing so much stuff now that's just amazing. So I'm just super humble.
Awesome.
All right. We got to, you know who it is, John. What do we got?
It's our, you know, Mike, you have that person that, you know, they go to a place where everybody knows their name. That's Ed Sullivan for us. He's our Cliff Clavin from Cheers. So, Ron, I'll let you handle the question.
Yeah, he says, I got a question for Iron Mike myself. Which boxer or boxers inspired you the most?
Hands down, I will have to say Muhammad Ali. And it's not because of necessarily what he did in the ring, but the stuff he did outside of the ring. And that's why I like to think I'm pretty well spoken, right? I come from that culture, right? The Muhammad Ali sitting down, going toe to toe with William F. Buckley, you know, a very just straight conservative kind of guy. And he would sit there and have these questions, and people would walk away amazed at Ali's ability to articulate himself. Yeah. And so definitely Muhammad Ali. I loved everything he stood for, not only as a boxer, but as a, like, I know the word social justice warrior is kind of cliche now, but like he's the epitome of like the kind of athletes I look up to, you know. And so definitely Muhammad Ali, man.
Awesome. Speaking of boxers, the other Iron Mike is coming back, right?
Yeah.
What just I mean, off the you know, just a random question here. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Him coming back? I mean, some of it could be for a little bit of show, but I mean, he's looking good though, right?
I mean, you see the little clips. You haven't seen it more than like 5 seconds.
Okay.
Anybody can look good for 5 to 10 seconds, but in all seriousness, no. I mean, a lot of boxers have a hard time letting go, right? And it's by the nature of the sport. And again, those guys with the highlights, it's the same thing. You know, they never feel that rush of like being in the ring, you know. And I'll get wrong, some days I miss the ring walk. That's what I like. You know, when you walk into the ring, you know, and it's nerve-wracking and it's scary, but just when that music hits, you know, when you're in the ring, and I miss those days, but I'm doing so much other stuff. So, you know, I think for a lot of those guys, man, unfortunately, and this is why I do what I do, is we got to be honest with ourselves and say, outside of professional boxing, like, what are people doing? You know, when their career ends, what options do they have? And Mike has his demons, and he talks about them on his podcast.
Yeah.
You know, you got Sugar Ray Robinson, who's kind of paving the way, and a few others. But, you know, as a sport, we don't have the best track record in terms of taking our guys all the way, you know? And so for me, that's why it's so important. What we do with Ironbound is, like, we're creating champions in and out of the ring. It is very important, though, for us to be able to hold our own in the ring. This ain't feel good boxing. When you watch my kid, you know, you got the nonprofits that do boxing. It's like, oh, cute, they're punching the pads. You know, I mean, we fight and we're cracking. I mean, we fight all the time. But again, the goal is to take that grit and then apply it outside the ring. When you take a kid into a boxing ring and it's his first time sparring at another gym, and it's like, it's the Wild Wild West in there. You know, you go in there, it's the Wild West. It's scary, it's intimidating. And a kid goes in there and holds his own. He might get beat up, but he's giving it back. And he walks out. He feels like he's king of the world. You know, it's like, how do we take that moment and keep it going? You know, people ask me all the time, they're like, Mike, what do you say to those of us who want to create social impact in the urban community and work with youth? You know, how do you help them, you know, achieve whatever it is they want out of life? You got to help them get small wins. See, that's what we're not talking about. And our veteran community has this too. We're talking about a lack of confidence, right? People don't have confidence. And how are we helping them build their confidence? Because, you know, you take L's in life. It's a way of life. It's fact. But what keeps you moving forward is because you can fall back on other stuff. You know, you're like, oh, this is hard, but it ain't IOC. You know? It ain't Afghanistan. It ain't this. And you build upon that. And so with the kids, man, they're coming very low. They got really, really low confidence. And so boxing allows us to build it up over time.
So, Mike, obviously Ironbound is doing great things and everything. So what's your vision for the future? Where do you want to take Ironbound, and where do you want to go in the future?
So our long-term goal is we want to fund free amateur boxing gyms in inner cities all across the country, right? I firmly, if the kid wants to pay for boxing, I don't think he should have to pay for it.
Yeah.
If he wants to train as a boxer, I don't want him to have to pay for it. You know, because the demographic we're targeting, you know, the kids growing up in the projects, they're living in places like East St. Louis, Ferguson, you know, Detroit, Newark, Baltimore. And to be quite frank, like, a lot of them can't afford good gym memberships.
Yeah.
You know, and we target youth and young adults. And I say young adults because that's very important, because, you know, when these kids graduate high school out of these environments, there's no real light switch that goes off. Boom. You know, they're still living at home, working minimum wage jobs, you know, looking for something in life, and they can't afford a $100 gym membership and all this kind of stuff. So we want to lower that barrier to entry and allow them to train for free. In addition to that, we're focused on entrepreneur education. And I think, you know, youth and young adults in the inner city, they need to learn how to generate income for themselves and their loved ones. Everybody talks about financial literacy. No, we need to be talking about financial independence, right?
Yeah.
How do you create and monetize value? Because I'm telling you right now, sitting around waiting on a stimulus check, from the federal government ain't the way to go. You know,
Yeah.
and nobody is engaging them with entrepreneurship, and boxing gives us street cred. We're in Newark, New Jersey. We can go to, I mean, the gyms we go to, people wish they could go out there, you know, that kind of engagement. And again, it's like, what are we doing to leverage this? So you got a lot of people focused on the social justice fight, and I'm focused on the economic piece, you know, because you need both, right? You know, be awareness about it. Let's talk about it. But also, how are we creating economic opportunities? How are we leveraging our human capital, you know, to uplift communities of color? And so through the veteran network, through my network at the Naval Academy, I'm able to bring that human capital piece to it. And the last piece is employment. So we focus on three areas through our nonprofit arm: free amateur boxing programs for Newark youth and young adults, entrepreneur education programs, and then employment opportunities.
That is awesome. What now? And just jumping into that, the entrepreneurship, which is incredible, because you're talking about, you know, financial independence, and one of the things that we get to teach here as far as the VA home loan benefit, how to build generational wealth with our benefits that we've earned. But in that entrepreneurship, what kind of are some of the early techniques or projects that they have to learn that? Do you have bring independent consultants in? Is it life experiences that you share that yourselves? What does that look like? So
we launched a small business incubator called Thrive. Okay, so we run two programs now: the Boxing Academy and Thrive. And what we do is we take youth and young adults in Newark through a 4-week live online module curriculum, right, taught by myself and members in my network team from Dope Coffee Company, another veteran brand, and one of my classmates from the Naval Academy, my teammates from the Naval Academy, another Marine infantry officer named Tom Payne. And so we take them through a 4-week live online modules focused on how to start a business, small business finance, marketing, and entrepreneurial leadership. And at the end of that, they have an opportunity to pitch for cash prizes. So we raised probably about $45K in the last quarter to go towards this initiative. And we're giving out $7K in cash prizes to the first group. So we've got two groups, 14 to 17 and 18 to 22. First place gets 2,000, second place gets 1,000, and third place gets 500. So we're splitting that for both groups, and we got winners in both. In addition to that, we're not just distributing the funds like, hey, Mr. 18-year-old first-time business, here's $2,000. No, we got milestones we want them to hit. Milestone number 1: once you get that first website up and running, you know, you got your basic branding, how you're promoting and marketing. All right, boom, we can cut you the first $500 check. Next milestone, you know, you get that first client. You know, what does your sales pipeline look like? Then we give that track. So you're teaching entrepreneurship. And the goal with this program is we're not expecting to give a kid out the gate $1,000 and he's going to 10X it to whatever. That's not right. What we got to realize is I don't know any entrepreneurs who hit a home run their first time out the gate. If you know any successful entrepreneur, they're on their 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th venture. And all the statistics out there tell you that 90% of small businesses fail within the first year. And what it really should tell you is 90% of first-time business owners fail within the first year. You know, the more swings at the plate you get, the better your business acumen and improves. And so all we're trying to do is get them started down that pathway. And we want them to swing, just start swinging. And we're going to help them, you know, we're going to limit their mistakes. And the goal, not limit their mistakes, but we're going to help mitigate some of the mistakes and make sure they're getting lessons learned through them. And so we're focused on training 10,000 young entrepreneurs of color here in the city of Newark over the next 5 years. And what makes us unique is we're cultivating that curriculum so it meets the kids we're targeting where they are.
Oh, that's
wow, that is phenomenal. Phenomenal. Hey, Mike, so I want to, one of the things Ron and I talk about all the time for transitioning service members is how to take your professional military reputation and turn it into a marketable personal brand that would be attractive to businesses and corporations on the outside. And then you spoke about the importance of networking. Can you comment on that? How a service member, and this kind of gets back to not getting lost in your own museum, what they can do or what techniques you've seen or what you've used that allows them to be marketable on the outside based off of what they've done inside, and then the importance of networking.
Absolutely. So I'm gonna give a plug for a book. It's called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. It's called The Big Leap. And one of the things he talks about, there's 4 zones. You got your zone of incompetence, your zone of competence, your zone of excellence, and your zone of genius. Okay. Most people spend their life operating in that zone of excellence. That's like, you're doing a good job, but are you the best at it? You know, can anybody else do the Ron and John show? Probably not, right? So this is y'all's zone of excellence. It meets you where you are. You're able to be yourself wherever. Having people need to take courage and operate in that zone of excellence and build around it. And it's a space where it's very niche, right? Like sometimes my zone of excellence, honestly, is just being Mike Steadman. You know, I thought it was boxing, but I found out that it's also just being me, how I think, how I talk. And so that's where like taking advantage of platforms like this, you know, to communicate. So you got to have some self-awareness and you got to be honest with yourself and say, what am I the best in the world at? What fires me up? What am I passionate about? And just share the story and operate within that. You know, don't force it on people. But when people see you doing it, they're like, man. And going back to your point about networking, you know, and I'm learning this as an entrepreneur myself, right? When we launch our businesses, what do? Everybody says networking. You're like, yeah. But what it really means is I think we're looking at networking the wrong way, because what ends up happening is you need to look at networking. How can I help other people? You know? And like, you know, you spend all this time chasing all these other people to help you out with business and whatever. And then finally you just kind of look at your cousin and you're like, hey man, I pay you $500. Can you shoot this video for me? And he does it, you know? And then it's really good. And then people say, hey man, who'd you get to do that video? It's like, oh, my cousin. Oh, I want his contact info. And so just leveraging your circle, but like, don't go in just like, I made this mistake too. Just tell everybody about what you're doing. No, man, how can you help people? You know, how can you help people? Can you make recommendations for people? It costs nothing and it takes nothing to send an email on somebody's behalf.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things, you know, we talk about networking as well. You know, in all of our, pretty much most of our talks, that comes up because that's what's important. How are you going to set yourself up before you get out to plug into something? But even more importantly, what I've learned, you know, even being out for as long as I have, is networking never stops. In fact, you gotta increase it a little, you know, more. And just piggybacking off of what you said, one of the things that the techniques that I like to share with people is when you're in a room and you find out what somebody does, you know, ask them, so what is it that I could do to help you? You know, and they might say referrals, or if you have this, or if you have some suits that people are donating for, you know, you never know how you're going to get plugged in. And once you plug it with somebody, you never know, because you see, and I say this because I see how many resources that I'm able to help people with now, from their VA benefits, from the VA home loan stuff. I mean, at the end, you know, when we get these questions, it's just like, here's what you need to do. Here's what you need to do. And it's because of networking. It isn't because of Ronald Farrell. It's because of people that have been along there to impact and help and share. I know a guy that knows a guy that knows a girl, you know, that kind of thing.
I'll tell you what I do, right? So I have the privilege of being a part of an amazing organization called Bunker Labs, which you know, if you're a veteran military spouse and you want to start a business, like check out Bunker Labs. I'm telling you, it's a place to be. And when I first got plugged in to Bunker Labs, you know, one of the things I noticed was, you know, just be curious about what people are working on. You know, hey, what's your venture? But generally curious. Then you take it and I put it in the back of my head. And then when I hear people talking about stuff and they're like, yeah, I'm looking to launch this, I'm like, oh, you should talk to this person, you know, or that sounds like so-and-so, or you hear an opportunity, hey, we're looking for founders of this demographic, blah, and then you forward that email to somebody else. And so you're really just having overwatch for people. So the thing with networking is you got to really be curious about the people you're interacting with. And the one way you avoid not doing that is just be authentic. You know, you know, everybody's like, oh, what's this random networking event? Like, no, like I don't have any desire to do that. I need to focus on other stuff. But if it's like podcasting and stuff now, and I have an opportunity to go be around, you know, veterans that are podcasting and doing content, yeah, sign me up, because that's something I'm passionate about. If there's veterans that are boxing, cool, you go to that. And so you got to be authentic and find stuff that speaks to you. And it can be very niche. It can be like deep sea diving or something. And you go around a bunch of people that do that, because, you know, it's just great. And don't just limit yourself to veteran networking. Go just work with people in general.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Hey, so Mike, the other thing you talked about, you know, this entrepreneurship that you do with these teenager and young adults and everything. One of the hardest things that I've seen, especially with veterans, but also with people in general, is being able to clearly define their knowledge, skills, and attributes that, again, would make them attractive out there. So as you're looking to develop these entrepreneurs, what kind of coaching do you provide them so that they can clearly articulate who they are, what you know they're very knowledgeable about, what their skills are, and the attributes that would make them more attractive?
So there's a guy by the name of Christopher Lochhead, and he wrote 2 books. One book is called Play Bigger, and the other book is Niche Down. And he basically says, can you cuss on this podcast or no?
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right. He says personal branding is bullshit.
Yeah.
Don't focus on personal branding. Focus on dominating a category. So creating your category, right?
Yeah.
So for me, if it's youth and young adult, amateur boxing, veteran space, like my name should pop up, you know, being frank, because this is a space I'm just very passionate about and I'm operating in. So what do you think happens whenever people are doing boxing? You should talk to Mike Steadman. You should talk to Mike Steadman, right? Focus on a category you can own and be an expert at and provide value in, you know, even if it's basket weaving for veteran, right? Nobody else is covering down on it, you know? So just finding and getting specific and finding a niche that makes you different. And I think that's what the problem, like, here's the deal we got to have an honest conversation about, right? We want these exceptional lives and we want to find meaning and purpose, all right? But you're not going to find that doing what everybody else does, right? In any industry, whether it's the military, whether it's sports, whether it's all these other things, what happens? The people at the top, right, outshine everybody else, you know? And so you get in the industry and you're like, man, I really can't be the best at that. I'm just kind of like biding time. What can I be the best at? What am I doing that can put me in a position where no one else is competing with me? There is no competition, you know? And so identifying niches that you can own and building stuff around that, you know? And I think a lot of businesses, and I'm guilty, like before the pandemic hit, you know who my perfect client was on our for-profit boxing arm? Because we teach boxing to companies. I thought it was going to be like Spotify and all these other places. And we teach at Spotify. Don't get me wrong. We teach boxing at Spotify and everything. Our best client, man, was a car dealership called Mike Piazza Honda.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you know why? Because I got a warm lead there. And I found out that, you know, everybody's doing corporate wellness and employee wellness, but you know who they're not talking to? Car dealerships. You know? Spotify, all these big tech companies and all these big corporations, they're kings on the chessboard, right? So what happens? Everybody's going after them, right? The most obvious move to make is the easiest move to make, which means everybody can do it, right? When I came across the car dealership, I was calling up, hey, my name is Mike Steadman. I specialize at on-site boxing classes for car dealers. They were like, oh, perfect. Hook line. You would never know that. You know, you got to test and you got to find stuff out. Yeah.
Well, man, Ron, I think it's time that we hit Mike with some rapid fire. What do you think?
I agree. The rapid fire.
All right, Mike, rapid fire. We kind of go off the cuff a little bit here. So, you know, Ron and I were talking at the beginning of the show of the guest we had last week, Lieutenant Commander 𝘵𝘰𝘮𝘭𝘺. Jesse was a classmate of yours, and we talked about how great the show was. I think you and him are neck and neck, you know, in terms of dropping knowledge in these podcasts here. So, Jesse, defensive back on the football team at the Naval Academy, you a collegiate boxing champion. Question 1, we're now, what, a decade later? Who wins in a 40-yard dash between you and Jesse right now? He's a NASCAR driver, and you're a boxing coach and an entrepreneur and everything. Who's going to win that 40-yard dash?
Probably Jesse. I might pull some now. You know, I go out there and hurt myself. I sprinted. The reason I know because I sprinted with the kids a while back at the park, and I was like, man, I gotta be careful. I almost pulled something.
Okay, then now let's have a comeback here. 3 rounds in the ring, 3 3-minute rounds. How's Jesse do against you?
Nah, he doesn't survive. No competition. No competition. That's the thing about boxing, sparring. You know, it's one of those things. Like the only way to get good at sparring and build conditioning for sparring is to spar. So, you know, a lot of people come into boxing, they're like, I'm in shape with Navy SEAL, freaking Marsoc, blah, blah, blah. 30 seconds in, they're sucking air, you know, because they haven't trained under that condition before. So I got boxing all day. It's no condition. It's no question. He's got skinny legs too, so I'll knock him out.
Go ahead, Ron.
All right. So I was watching Before the Beard episode, and which came out not too long ago, right? But you were talking about, you know, the stigma with the beard, you know, officer with the beard, growing it out, you know, what people would think and stuff. But then you mentioned something else in jest as it trailed off before the next question was asked, and you said the ladies too. What does that mean?
A beard? I don't know what it is, man. I just feel like a beard. If you're like a guy and you don't have, if you have a guy with a beard, right? Automatically, you go from like being a normally like a 7 to like a 10.
Yeah,
it's just what it is. I don't know what it is. It's about the beard. It just makes you look more attractive. It makes you look more serious. It's like, why has he got the beard? He's mysterious. Just looks different.
Yeah. I love it. I'm riding that.
I'm working on mine, but I couldn't grow one for 38 years. I've been married for 37 now, so I just wear it because, it's kind of my, rebellious side coming out after serving 38 years in the military. But, okay, another question. 4 years at the Naval Academy, 1 year in the Naval Prep School. How'd the Academy do against the Army in the Army-Navy football game for your 5 years associated with the Academy?
We dominated them. We didn't lose a single game.
Dang, man. Ron, what's up? Hey, we're going to call up Jeff Monken now, the head coach of the Army, and say they better bring that scunion this year, in December, all right? Because every guest we bring on, these midshipmen, they've been kicking our asses for years, man. When
I was at Navy, Jesse's team, the team playing on, man, they beat Notre Dame twice.
Wow.
It was a big deal because that was the first time in like 60 years. They beat them the first time in 60 years. And they beat them again like 2 years later. We beat Air Force. We beat everybody.
Yeah. Wow.
How long do you think that's going to continue for? Because
well, not anymore. Army's been beating us the last 2 years. So,
boom.
So here's a question: it's probably something that you get often. I don't know how often now because you look like you could knock an MFR out right immediately. But when was the last time someone offered you crayons?
Oh, you got jokes. I was gonna make fun of John over there. I was like, he's like been in the Marine Corps 38 years. You were in World War II? What?
Hey, Marines and the crayons. You guys go back before World War II, Marines and crayons now.
Yeah, no, you're right. No, I love it. Though. It's fun. Sometimes those jokes are, I will tell you though, right? Like when you're younger, nobody tells you this. We're talking about the real military, right?
Oh, yeah.
When you're younger and you want to go to the Marines or the Army, and everybody's like, the Marines are like Rangers, and the Rangers are like Marines, blah, blah, blah. Then I'm an infantryman. You get to the fleet, and I'm like, got to check to make sure Marines are like taking water to the desert. I'm like, let me go out. I was like, if people only knew, you get to the Marines, like, we're going to the desert for 3 days. Make sure you got all your stuff. You got your stuff, Marine? Yes, sir. All right, let me see your water. I don't have any water. So I would do that.
But hey, Mike, we're down to the end here. And I just want to say on behalf of, the Ron and John show here and my battle buddy, Ron over here, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. I will tell you, this has been a true treat. And, what you're doing now in terms of where we're at in our country and how you're providing purpose, direction, motivation, and mentorship to the people that need it the most, our up and coming youth and the future of our country. It is so admirable. And, I know you don't get saluted anymore, but I'm going to give you a salute anyways and say thanks for what you do. And, we'll turn it over to you for final comments before we close it out, man.
No, gentlemen, it's a pleasure being here. Only way I'm able to do what we do is because of support of the veteran community. I'm just be quite frank, all our support, majority of our support comes from the veteran community all across the country. And we're at a time that's very polarized right now. It's like liberals, Republicans, blah, like pulling each other's hairs out. But I say a unifying message, man. I don't care who you are. Nobody wants to see black and brown kids dying in the streets. Nobody wants to see kids dying in the streets, period. But we got to be aware and understand that we have a problem in this country. And I firmly believe this, that I think the veteran community can help pull us on the other side of this thing, because America is very tribal. Outside of the military, people don't spend time with different groups and different personalities, but the military brings us together. And so we're able to have these stories and share empathy with one another and support one another in a way other people wish they could. And so that's why I'm looking for veterans to kind of step up to the plate, and we're stepping up to the plate. We're raising our hands and just keep having overwatch for us, keep supporting us. You can learn more about myself and the organization, Ironbound Boxing, at our website, www.ironboundboxing.org. We're focused on 3 initiatives right now: free amateur boxing programs for youth and young adults in Newark, New Jersey, entrepreneur education, and employment opportunities, right? We're getting them safe, keeping them off the streets, training them. We're teaching them entrepreneurship, how to generate income for themselves and their loved ones, and we're giving them employment opportunities within our network through our sponsors. So if that speaks to you, if that's something you want to be a part of the Ironbound team, man. Come in here and let's make the world a better place.
Awesome.
Man, that is incredible.
Hey, yeah, thanks again, brother. I really appreciate it. And hey, we'd like to check in again here, sometime after the first of the year, bring you back and see how things are going again.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a fun podcast, man. I have fun with you guys. This is great.
Hey, us Army guys can rock,
Yeah. You got to do something because y'all don't fight. So, yeah.
Oh, man. Damn.
All right, over to you, Ron.
You know why God created Rangers?
Why is that?
Because Marines need heroes too. So, with that, welcome. Thank you so much for coming out to another episode of the Ron and John Show. It's brought to you by a Veterans Lending Group, where we can ETS, PCS, and retire wherever you go because we are licensed in all 50 states. If you enjoyed this podcast, you will enjoy learning some education. You can also learn about your VA home loan benefit by going to VAHomeLoanBootCamp.com and see there for different scheduled events of different type of education classes from the VA Home Loan Bootcamp. VA Home Loan Bootcamp 2.0, where we show veterans and service members how to build generational wealth with your VA home loan benefit, credit building strategies, as well as refinancing. So with that, we look forward to next week on another episode of the Ron and John Show. Make sure you stay tuned in on Wednesday, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific. John, what do you got, brother?
Hey, everybody show them weapons. Come on, Mike.
All right.
Show them guns. Hey, look at that, man.
Yeah. Stay strapped and don't get clapped, baby.
Y'all have a great week. Take care. God bless you. Thank you, Iron Mike Steadman. Thank you to our audience out there. We'll see you next week on the Ron and John Show. Boom.
Boom.